be a very, very fun course, and right now what I'd like to do is introduce my two very special guests coming in all the way from Washington, D.C. to Orlando, Florida, where we're filming this here live for you today. My first guest is one of the top 100 most influential real estate agents in the country. She is a best-selling author, and she has been seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates across the country, the Washington Post, all kinds of other media outlets. And what I love about her most is the consistency in her business, and again, the lifestyle that they bring. So let's welcome our first guest today, Marjorie Dick Stewart. Come on up and get the big applause track. How are you doing?
Hi, Greg.
Welcome to Orlando.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun couple hours today, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I like it.
It's going to be great.
So I talked about it a little bit, I think, in the video they got people to register for this. But, you know, over the last couple of years, you've really had a reboot of your real estate business. And so I guess as we kick this off, tell everybody a little bit about your journey as a real estate agent and what it kind of looks like today.
Okay, so Greg, back in 1979, I hopped in my old beat-up Toyota Celica in Philadelphia and drove to Washington, D.C. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I ended up in a group house in Bethesda, a suburb of Washington. And I was walking around the house one day, and one of my roommates had a friend named Dave who was sitting on a bed reading this enormous book. And I said, Dave, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm going to study real estate. I'm going to take a test, and I'm going to make a lot of money. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. Maybe I'll do that. So
if Dave could do it, you could do it too,
if
obviously.
Dave could do it, believe me, I could do it. So I took the class and I started selling, and I was hungry and I was broke, so I had to make money.
Yeah.
So I went out, I did everything they told me to do, and I made 19 sales that year. So I went from 19 sales to making 30 sales, and I became a top agent. And I worked 100 hours a week, and I burned out. I was exhausted, I was burned out, I was overwhelmed, and I quit. And I said, that's it, I will never sell another house as long as I live. I am so done. I gave away all my clients, I gave away all my lock boxes, and I stopped. That was it.
That was it?
That was it.
That was it. And the crazy part is I think a lot of people might be in that position now that you're in, is they are, you know, they have kids and they don't get to see their kids on the weekend. They're you know, hustling at night and all these things, and they're not in a financial position where they can quit.
Well, there were no kids. I was single, I was young, I was hungry, and it was just go, 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 go all the time.
Yeah.
So that was before we started the big business that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And so are we going to talk about the transition now, or do you want to, are we getting into that later?
We're getting into that next.
We're getting into that next. All right.
Okay.
Awesome. So let's talk about what happened there that was able to make that transition.
So what happened was I quit, and I was relaxing. I had a child, and I was hanging out on the playground, and I was drinking coffee, and I was drinking wine, and I was meeting moms. And I stopped using my brain, and my brain got a little fried. And one day, Bill came home and said, hey, Marjorie, I just went to this seminar.
That's how it all starts, right?
I just went to this seminar, and guess what? We're going to start a brand new business. So we did. We got rid of all our old stuff. I started brand new. We created new marketing materials. We created 3 pieces that we're going to talk about. My very first piece was a personal brochure, and the marketing people at the time said, it's got to be personal. It's got to be about you. And I thought, oh, it's not going to be about all the clubs that I belong to and all the listings that I've been on and all the sales I've made.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I've got this pet lizard. Can we use my pet lizard? Could we do something like the Geico Gecko?
Yeah.
And the guy said, well, I don't think so, Marjorie. I really doubt it. So I got this brochure. I wrote my life story. They made this brochure for me. They handed it over to me. And my lizard was on the front cover. And my lizard was on the inside. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. You're the experts.
Yeah.
And that's how we got started.
Wow. And so over the course of this rebirth, if you will, of your business, now it allows you to do some really cool things. I know even just in the midst of filming this, you guys are like leaving tomorrow and going on another trip and then going to some baseball games. Last weekend you were in some baseball games. I mean, you're not in DC very often, and you're still selling 40 to 50 homes, you know, at a $1 million median price point every year.
Well, actually, what I didn't say, because this is live, you know, what I didn't say is that when Bill came home from this seminar and he presented me with, we're going to do this brochure, it wasn't just the brochure. It was classing up our marketing. It was creating better pieces.
Yeah.
And it was focusing more on where do I want to do my business, not where is the business coming at me and I've got to take it every second, which is what I did before. It was like I would go anywhere and do anything. So we got focused and we picked a spot and we made it more of a geographical spot plus the people that we knew. And it was more like, if I want to work with you, I'm going to work with you. And if you don't like my lizard, that's fine. And somehow by working only with people that I wanted to work with, by going into a neighborhood that was 2 and 3 times more expensive than where I was already working, I found I could do the same amount of transactions. I could be more relaxed. I could have a sense of humor. I could be myself. And if you didn't like my lizard, that was okay. And that's really how we got started.
I love it. Well, let's bring in the second half of this team now, and the cool thing that I like about your dynamic is you're the one out there, you're meeting with the clients, you're interacting with them on that personal level, but you do have someone behind the scenes who's helping to get some of the marketing out, helping to develop a lot of the things on the back end. And so, Bill Stewart, if you want to come out here and let's talk about this and welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us here today. Yeah, and so it's a fun story here, I'm sure, from your side, and having that. We all have that, and probably someone today is watching this. I was watching this seminar online, and this guy Bill told me I needed a bro. So we're hoping to have that same epiphany for a lot of people here today. But give me a little bit of background on your story, because you've actually been training thousands of real estate agents over the past few decades, helping them to grow their business. And now you get to, well, you've spent the last couple of years honing it in on your and Marjorie's business, and now we're here back full circle coaching agents again.
Right.
So
well, the one thing that's not on kind of the resume behind you is a few years ago, the National Association of Realtors told me they were honoring me by designating me as a Realtor Emeritus. Okay. Now, if anybody knows what emeritus means, plug it in the box. You're old. Because that's the first thing I thought. I thought it meant you've been doing it a long time and you're still alive. So then I looked a little further, and all the definitions talked about recognizing somebody in a field who's retired. And I said, well, I'm not putting that on my card. And then I looked further, and in the ancient Greek, it was, veteran soldier. Okay, so this is what I've been doing. I'm unemployable for sure, and I've really never during the years that I've been. I used to call it building sales forces, but what I actually did was help individual agents build their businesses. Yeah. I've never walked into the status quo. Actually, the first time I met Marjorie, I was going into the company where she was, and 75% of the production of the company had just left to start a new business. Wow. So that was one strike. Also, at that same time, rates went to 18 to 20%. The sales force had one person who'd been in the business longer than 1.5 years, I think, maybe 2. Yeah. And that group became one of the most successful groups selling real estate in Washington, D.C. Yeah. The next place I went, the story that was told to me and why the owner approached me was one of the top agents was so mad at the sales manager there that she'd gone and grabbed the photograph of his family and smashed it over his head. So when I got there, the broken glass was still in the panes of his family photo. I think it was just kind of left there as a warning to me. Yeah.
You didn't want to end up as picture number 2.
So again, I've just never walked into normal. I started an office from scratch. I mean, by scratch, it was Marjorie, me, and I called an agent of mine, Gladys, and said, Gladys, actually, I'd been talking to the owner of the company. For those of you in Washington, D.C., you'll probably remember the name of Pardo Real Estate. And so we built an office in Bethesda. And, I told Gladys, the owner of the company, and I had been in discussions. And Sunday night, we decided to do it. And I called up Gladys Monday morning. I said, Gladys, I need you here first thing Tuesday because we're opening the store. And, that office became very, very successful. But again, about everything I've done has been I built something or rebuilt something. Right. And it's basically, though, the way we've done it is real estate offices have lots of different profiles. The typical real estate office has a few people who are making money. Yeah. A few people who are drinking coffee at the water cooler or whatever. And the profile of our offices was I wanted people who were ambitious and wanted to work.
Yeah.
And the profile was everybody made money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we went about it.
I love it. And so what I want to start doing, and we're going to get more of your story as we go throughout this. I want to talk about everybody who's here, hanging out with us here today.
Okay.
Because the good news is most of them aren't in some of those unfortunate situations. But I think there are a lot of them who are in Marjorie's shoes right when you were kind of at that breaking point. And so really want to start to talk about them today, because in this course, what we really want to get across is that by following what you're going to learn over the next few hours here with Bill and Marjorie, is that if you follow the system and if you follow the plan and you're okay doing some work, well, it just got a lot easier to sell more houses and make more money. I mean, let's just, the black and white of it, if you sell more homes, you get more commission and you have more money, which buys you not just, able to put food on the table and rent, but it affords you a lot of other luxuries like outsourcing and delegating and hiring and doing more marketing, which allows you to make more money and sell more houses and kind of the whole nine. But the second piece of this I think is so important, and I want you guys just to talk to it just for a second, is that still getting home in time for dinner. And I think that's a big one when we talk to real estate agents.
Marjorie, why don't you talk about that? Because that was sort of when we started talking about it, the concept was Marjorie was burned out. So that wasn't good. She was successful, but she was burned out. And so, her thought was, I want to do it differently. So you might want to talk a little bit about kind of what you were looking for that was different.
So what was different for me was, like I said earlier, was just not working with everyone, not traveling everywhere. Looking at my notes, I'm trying to figure out where I am.
Live
TV, ladies and gentlemen. Well, so just the question really is, why was it important for you when you went back to building the second version of your business? Why was it important for you to your version of getting home in time for dinner?
So I'll give you an example of something that happened to me when I burned out. So I had an accountant, she was doing my taxes, and I was audited that year. And I wrote on my forms that I wrote off 90% of everything I did. And they said, you can't do that. And I said, well, yes, I can. I said, that's not even all of it. I said, it's really 100%.
Right.
And I sent my accountant to this meeting, and I got away with it because it was real. I mean, I was really working 90 to 100% of my life. There was no life.
Yeah.
So now I had this kid, I had this husband, I was traveling, I wanted to do some things that were fun, I wanted to have dinner. So cutting down all the things that I didn't want to do, and what Bill and I decided was, we want to figure out a way that I could go on listing appointments and present contracts, because those are the fun things to do in our business. It's not fun to drop off keys and pick up keys and put up signs and put people in the car and, clean up somebody's spit in the back seat and, all the stupid things that you really do. So that's became our focus, was with this new neighborhood, price range, and new marketing materials, was to have me be able to just go on listing presentations and present contracts.
Yeah, and here in this first module, we're going to help all of you who are watching right now to really get clear on some of those objectives and some of those goals. One of the things that I talk about a lot, and we've talked about in our conversations, is so many folks are very good at telling you what they don't want to do, right? So as Marjorie just said, that picking up the keys and dropping off the keys and cleaning up the spit up, like, we know we don't want that. But the hard thing is, if I really asked you, what do you actually want? What do you want your real estate business to look like? Bill and Marjorie got very clear on that, and we're going to walk you through the same exercise that they went through when they, created the business that they now have here today. And again, it's taking all of their experience in this business with 4 simple, easy steps to success, give you that tried and true system. And the big part that I love about doing this, and again, being live here with you today, or if you're watching this on the recordings, is that we are here to help. So make sure that you are submitting your questions. If something goes through and you're like, I don't really know what to do about that, make sure that you answer or ask your questions here today.
And Greg, one other thing along those lines, for many years, I trained agents, I coached agents, I advised agents, and when Marjorie and I decided to do this, we decided to start a business. Now the good news is that meant we were back in the pit. I mean, it was a startup business.
Yeah.
I mean, our startup business was ambitious in that, we picked a number out of the hat. I told somebody, I said, we're going to build a $30 million business. And she said, well, that's ambitious. And I said, well, yeah, why else would you do something?
Right.
Now, we were wrong because we doubled that, I think, already. But it got me back into the real nuts and bolts. And what I walked away from was that coaching, that mentoring. And one of the things that drove us to do what we're doing now with the online training is, we can continue to grow our business. We didn't retire from the real estate business. We can continue to grow it, but now I can reach more people.
Yeah.
I'm used to sitting down one-on-one with somebody, talking about their issues, talking about their challenges, figuring out solutions. That's one at a time, and that's great, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be able to reach out and help more people.
Yeah, we can be on video here today with 400 something people watching from all around the country, right? Doesn't make you nervous at all, does it?
Not really. So I was going to say, let me give you a few specifics of a few of the things that we actually did. Some of the things that Bill threw me out on the street with this new brochure, and I said, okay, well, I have a brochure. Now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I went to places where I spend money. I went to my bank. I went to my florist shop. I went to my dry cleaners. I said, hey, I'm spending money here. Do you mind if I leave my brochures?
Yeah.
So I left my brochures everywhere, and I would go every week, and I'd replenish those.
Yeah.
And I was handing them out like business cards.
And the cool thing in I think it's in module 2, we're actually going to walk through what that is. So if you're like, well, what is this brochure we keep talking about? We're actually going to walk you through it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
we're going to walk you through it in the second piece of today's training.
I was afraid. I had this brochure with my lizard on it, and what the heck am I going to do? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And probably that week that I remember, I just got our first box. And we were on the listserv, and somebody was selling baseball tickets, and they were really great seats for the Nats. And we said, okay, we'll take them. And I went to the house to pick up the baseball tickets. And I took my brochure, and I remember walking out the door, and I put it on the little desk by the front door, and I said, oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. And the guy picked it up, and he was looking at it.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, well, we're looking for a house. my first one. And I said, okay. Anyway, it was a long story, but they bought a $6 million house.
Wow.
They sold a $1.7
best baseball game you ever went to in your life.
They sold a $1.7 million house in this neighborhood where I was just going to go get started with Bill.
Yeah.
And they've sent me quite a few of their friends that have become clients. So that's how I started using it.
Yeah.
And we also did a postcard. We recreated our postcard. And we started sending the postcard out to whoever we were sending out. I know I have a great postcard story. And the newsletter, and we created this amazing newsletter.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing that we've ever done.
Yeah.
And we sent out this newsletter, and in the newsletter we're talking about our son who plays baseball at Emory, and we talk about real estate, and we talk about I don't know if it was Colin over there that gave us the idea, but my life is so intertwined. It's work, it's play, it's everything. Bill wrote the article that said my life is messy and I like it that way.
Yeah.
So I get this call from this card that I sent out from a client who was about to sell her $700,000 condo and buy a $1.25 million house. And she said, Marjorie, I went online and I looked up the Emory baseball schedule and I saw the game was over at 5, and I just didn't want to call you before the game was over because I didn't want to disturb you. That's the kind of business that I'm loving right now.
I love it. So right now, as you're watching this, Bill has put together a few questions that we really want to ask of you, and it really pertains to, what kind of agent are you? Because right now, as you're watching this, you need to make a decision. Do you want to continue doing the things that you've always done, or do you want to listen to a tried and true process? And the great part I like about this is it's a formula and it's a system, but there's no magic potion. There's no magic button that you're gonna push here. We're just going to
for $8,000, it's magic.
There's a button. But so why don't you walk through kind of these questions, because these are the questions that we need you to answer right now as to determine, hey, are you gonna keep doing the things you've always done and continue just selling a few homes, getting a listing here and there, or are you going to create the systems in your life to where, well, Marjorie just shared that story about getting those tickets, and to you right now, I bet it sounds accidental. Well, great. Well, I went to buy some tickets off Craigslist and I didn't get a listing. It's not accidental, the things that we're doing here. They seem accidental because of the system. So why don't you run through some of these questions?
Sure. Now, as soon as I say, basically each one of you falls into one of 3 categories, Greg will start getting things saying, oh, that's not me, or no, I'm different from that. And so that's fine. So these are 3 of the types of people you could be.
Yeah.
Not absolute. But we've named this the Ambitious Agent Network, and that's who we're looking for. And there are lots of you that are ambitious, and that's terrific, but not all the pieces are working together. So the first category is you're ambitious and you're very successful, but you're a Marjorie. You know, you're always chasing the next deal. You're frequently sacrificing precious time with loved ones. So that's one. And as we go through this, sort of log in who you are. Are you a 1, a 2, or a 3? And shoot that to Greg. I'd be sort of curious to see who the audience is, because we're live. That means we get to
tailor
tweak this
the
a little
training
bit.
to you. Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So let us know. The other is you're ambitious. You're hardworking, but you're not getting the results you need and deserve. Okay, so you're ambitious, you're out there, and it's just not happening for you. And the third is you're ambitious, you're just getting started, you're eager, you're excited, you're enthusiastic, but you're frustrated because you just really don't know what to do, or you're probably trying to do too many things is probably the bigger problem. So, you know, go back through there. You're ambitious and successful, that's a 1, okay? You're ambitious, you're hardworking, but not getting the return you want, that's a 2. Or you're brand new and kind of lost, that's a 3. So let Greg know, and that'll help guide us a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, so just shoot in. If you're a 1, 2, and a 3, my team back there is filtering those. They'll send me to you. And again, we want to recognize you, because if you tell us, hey, I'm a 3, we can tailor this training more towards you, because that's what this is all about. It's about helping you. I know, you know, the introduction, we're building up steam. We got 4 hours here together, and we're going to get much deeper as we go. But the big deal is, no matter which category you fall into, this system that Bill and Marjorie are going to lay out for you, this blueprint that we're going to lay out for you, is really going to work for you. And Marjorie, what I want to know is, which one of those were you?
Which one of those was I? Well, I was the one who didn't know what the heck to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? How do I make money? Where do I start?
Yeah.
But I mean, I was fortunate that I had people along the way to nothing like this. I mean, it took me 30 years to get here, 38 years, I don't know how long. But if I had this when I first started, I could be like I was talking to you about earlier, just sitting on some island sipping cocktails right now. But I didn't have this right away. So I had to dig and scratch, and I had to learn all of this. And Bill was probably my best mentor. And I did it. You know, somebody said, look, Marjorie, you got to do this. And I rolled up my sleeves and I did it. And you got to do this. And I rolled up my sleeves and I did it. And you and I were talking earlier about how, you know, people think that it's just going to come from the sky. Well, you know, maybe it does for some, but I don't know who.
Yeah,
So
not for any of the 3 of us.
I mean, the stuff that we do is so basic and it's so simple. But really the key is you just have to do it.
Yeah, I love it. And
let me throw something in, Greg.
Yeah.
You know, I've interviewed thousands of people who were thinking of coming into real estate, or were thinking of making a change from office to office, company to company. And one of the worst calls I get is from somebody who says, Bill, you got to talk to this guy. He's so smart, you won't believe it.
It's the worst.
And I go, he doesn't have a chance, or she.
yeah.
Because somebody that smart isn't willing to do basics. It's too simple. They want to complicate it. Our business, I don't have to tell anybody who's in it, our business is not easy. Okay. The line I say is, look, this business is too hard to do for free, but it's also too hard to do if you don't love doing it. But it's still simple. There are basics, there's nuts and
That was in
bolts,
my notes.
there's blocking and tackling, and you know, maybe we're not going to be fancy enough or complicated, but what we do actually works, and it's simple.
Yeah. I love that. And so what we've distilled this into, and this is, again, a lot of experience, again, helping thousands of agents, developing in your own business, reinventing your own business, that there are really just 4 pieces at play that we're going to talk about today, that we're going to jump into now. And those 4 parts are getting ready. And this is the mindset. And it's developing what you want out of your business. Like I said earlier, a lot of you know what you don't want. Like, you don't want to be doing what you're doing now. You don't want to have to post on, you know, Twitter, how many times did you post on Snapchat today about your listings?
I don't even know what Snapchat is.
So again, focusing on the things that you want so that you can have the business that you want and ultimately the life that you want. That is module 1. It's all about getting ready. In module number 2, we're going to talk about getting leads. And as we put together some of the materials for this course and asked you guys, the biggest thing you wanted, that's what you want. You want more leads. So how do we make the phone ring? That's what we're going to go through. And again, we're going to break down the 3 different pieces. Really, again, just 3 marketing pieces, not Snapchatting or doing all of these things that consume your time but don't make the phone ring. That is module 2. Module 3, it's all about getting meetings. So once the phone rings, how do you get those meetings? How do you get those appointments? How do you get the listing appointments? How do you get the things that actually make you money? And then in module number 4, this is the big one, and this is the multiplier. It's about getting help. How do you now multiply, create relationships with folks so that you can grow your business? And we're going to talk about everyone who Marjorie has and Bill and Marjorie have on their team. Who do they have in their back pocket? Who's helping them to do deals? Who's helping them to do all the things that you frankly don't want to do or don't have to do, that you probably think you have to do in your real estate business. So with that being said, that kind of concludes the introduction here in the Ambitious Agent Blueprint.